The Abbasids who overthrow the Umayyads bring in a lot of political, economic, and cultural change. And they usher in what they themselves call a golden age. And if you're saying that my era is the best era ever, that necessarily makes some connotations about the period before it, suggesting it's not all that great. They have huge developments that I'm not going to go over here in detail related to art and architecture and engineering and math and geography and astronomy and health sciences and philosophy, literature, law, navigation, agriculture, industry. The first theory of continental drift, for example, comes from these folks. The first modern theory about how we see comes from Islamic scientists. They collect and translate a lot of works from the rest of the world, so they basically hold on to knowledge that had been created by previous generations. What's really important about these folks is that they don't focus on conquering. Rather, they focus on administration of political and financial policies from a new capital which they create in Baghdad. It's established on the banks of the Tigris River in Mesopotamia, so we're kind of going full circle to the first week of class here, in 762. Take a look at this map, right? Things have changed. They've actually shrunk the empire a little bit into a more manageable perimeter. Baghdad itself is strategically placed to take advantage of traffic from both the river and from caravans. If you think about all the cities we've talked about, they've been situated at major roads and connected to major water thoroughfares. They are pretty tolerant. They allow folks they conquer to observe their own religions, to have relative political autonomy, do what they want to do politically, as long as they pay their taxes and they don't rebel. The caliphs do keep a standing army. They maintain a vast network of roads. They establish government positions for taxation, for finance. They create a pretty awesome postal service. But they recognize that having such a big empire is a challenge. So one of their contributions is they create the role of a vizier. If you've ever watched, I don't know, Arabian Nights, right? You see an example of a vizier there. What the vizier does, it's kind of like a prime minister. They delegate central authority, and they give even greater autonomy, individual power, to local rulers, who are named emirs. In order to overthrow the Umayyads, they had to depend on the support of other folks, and the best example of who that might be for them are the Persians. So one of the differences between the Abbasids and the Umayyads is that the Abbasids welcome non-Arab Muslims into court. Remember that social hierarchy of the Umayyads? At the very top you've got Arabic Muslims and then below them other Muslims. That changes with the Abbasids. All Muslims are now allowed to hold military and political offices, which means that the nature of the empire itself is going to change. And in the most obvious way, this integrates Arab and Persian cultures. In doing that, they piss off a lot of people that had been in power beforehand. Lots of Arab supporters. In many ways, this is something that is common as empires expand. If you adopt the customs of people that you conquer, you're going to upset the people who are kind of original conservative members of that empire. One of the things that is most notable are their contributions to collecting knowledge. So we'll pick that up on the last slide and we'll finish this lecture there.